Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Colleen, and I'm excited to have my old friends returning for yet another video. Thank you all for showing up time after time. Today I'm going to prepare for you something, a meal, a dinner that's really simple. And I'm doing the filming on a Sunday, which means Gino is still home. He hasn't left for his week hauling power poles. And so I'm going to make just a little extra so I have one meal to send with him on the road. So today we're going to make mashed potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts, and we're making pork chops with a mustard maple syrup glaze. So I'll gather up the things that we need to start with and I will get started. This meal goes really fast. It doesn't take too much time. It really takes probably under 20 minutes. You can cook up this dinner. But I have a couple of quick start things that to help myself out here. I have got my oven preheating to 450 degrees. And that is where these Brussels sprouts are going to go. I'm just going to peel the nasty little ends off and any leaves that don't look really good. And I am going to throw them into my colander so that I can wash them quickly before we move ahead. And this one looks a little gross. Let's get rid of that. There. Now I'm feeling a little better about that. I have here probably close to 3/4 pound of Brussels sprouts. Remember that I'm making 3 meals here, so I use 1/2 pound for 2 people, and so I think I have close to 3/4 pound here to make up the 3 meals. And Brussels sprouts at this time of year are really in season, and I like to cook with ingredients that are in season, and they're also delicious. Now if you don't like Brussels sprouts, you can pop in any vegetable you like here. No judgment if that's a can of something. Just add a vegetable, whatever is your favorite, whatever your family enjoys, do that, because obviously we don't all like the same thing. So let me rinse this and then we'll cut them in half. Get a little oil on them on the sheet pan. There we go. We'll just get these busy. I had so many people comment last week on how nice it was to hear a little bit more about myself personally, because I do tend to really just share recipes and not things you may know about me. I am a Goldenite from a long way back. For those of you who don't know or you're new here, I was born in Golden, BC in 1955, which makes me, you know, you can do the math, I'm 70 this year. And both of my parents were born here as well, and some of my grandchildren have been born here. So we're really a multi-generational family born in the little town of Golden, British Columbia in Canada. Over the years, my childhood years, we lived on a farm to the south of Golden, down the Columbia Valley, and we had a very small farm. My dad had a sawmill, and he also worked as a big game guide, which is one of the things that, one of the ways that he earned money for our household. So I'm just going to pull out enough potatoes here for this, and then I'll get these set aside. We were what today would be considered probably a poor family. We were raised in an old house It was probably, no, more than 30 years old by the time I was born. And the house and land, 160 acres, my dad bought with his VLA land grant when he came back from World War II. So we had a Veterans Land Act which entitled soldiers to be able to purchase property at very, very low interest. And my dad was able to purchase one of those pieces of land. And when he bought the land in I think it was 1953, 52 or 53, he bought 160 acres that had a good house on it, like a solid wood frame house, as well as a big natural log barn, and then it had some outbuildings like a chicken house, an outhouse of course, because we lived out in the country, we had no access to the modern amenities that you would find in town. And also a couple of other buildings that were close to the house, sheds, you know, that you just put stuff in because you never know when you might need it again, but usually you never do. If you've taken it out of the house, you've just given up on it basically. And I feel that way about people who use storage units. It's like, I don't know, by the time you go to use some of that stuff after a few years, you could have just bought new for the amount of money that you spent on a storage unit. But I digress. Anyway, that was kind of judgy. Sorry about that. I was the oldest in my family. I had 2 brothers who came after me, and then 2 sisters followed them. So there were 5 of us siblings in total, and we were raised in a 2-bedroom house. So Mom and Dad had one room, and us kids shared the other room that had a set of bunk beds and a double bed in it. Now, I didn't have to share for too long. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shared for quite a while. By the time I was 16, I was married. Or I got married when I was 16. And at that point, my youngest sister, whose name is Lana, had been born to our family. So there was 13 years between her and I. And the rest were in between us. My dad loved the outdoors. My mom not so much. My mom was inspired to do more artsy things, and she loved to sing, and she was very good at it, and entered lots of different singing contests, and sang for weddings and funerals. So I was raised in a home filled full of music. And wouldn't you know it, I can't sing a note. It's horrifying. Makes the kids turn away. It's just bad. I often joke that I got my mom's terrible voice and my dad's weak knees. But anyway, I was raised with 2 parents who I always knew loved me a lot. And I think that that's the most important thing. Okay, we've cut up enough potatoes for 3 meals. And I've got this ready. I'm just going to rinse these. I've got a pot on the stove with the water boiling already. So I'm just a step ahead of you. I'm going to put these potatoes in that pot. Now, next step, I am going to put a little drizzle of oil on these Brussels sprouts, and I'm going to grab the salt and pepper and put in a little salt and pepper. And I am working on a Sunday because I've got a busy week coming ahead of me, and I don't want to put you guys off or miss a week if I can avoid it. I know that you come faithfully to look for me on Wednesday, and I try my best to always be on time. So I sometimes I think it's just not possible, but when I can make it possible, I do. We have to eat, and I am preparing this video for you. So simple. Okay, just gonna rinse my hands, stick this in the oven. These are gonna go in the oven about a total of 14 minutes, 12 to 14 minutes, and I'm gonna turn them halfway through. Now, I'm gonna start these pork chops right away, even though I know that probably it's gonna take, 14 minutes for the Brussels sprouts and maybe 15 or 16 minutes for the potatoes. But these are really thick. They are well over an inch. They're quite thick. And probably on any given day, we would share one of these chops. And they look really good. So I'm going to just flip them over. I've started, while I was over there putting my hands all mucky again. While I was putting the Brussels sprouts in the oven, I turned on the frying pan to medium-high to get these started. And as I said, this recipe goes really fast if you have everything organized in advance. If everything, like me, I don't know if you have a peninsula, but I do right over here, kind of out of the view of the camera, where I line everything up that I need for a recipe. Let me turn that down. Where I line everything up that I need for a recipe, and then once I get started, it takes no time to get through it. So that's a good tip if you are finding it takes forever to get a meal together, because you've got to keep going and going and going. If you get everything lined up in advance, whether it's along your counter or off to the side, then it's easy to reach it, and you don't have multiple trips, because this way, while you're at the cupboard, you can get out 2 or 3 things. Like I needed the maple syrup, and I needed the cream from the fridge, and I needed mustard from the fridge, and I needed the potatoes. So I brought that all in one load, where if I had gone back and forth. Oh, am I making any sense at all? I hope I am. Anyway, I'm going to get these into the frying pan. And when everything is just about ready, I'm going to bring you to the stove so that I can show you how this sauce, it's really kind of a sauce, that I'm going to put it on the potatoes too. So it will add something to them, because I'm not making gravy. And I will be back shortly, and we'll get that sauce made. Well, I have everything just about to that point. I'm ready now to make the sauce. Just going to turn that down a little more. I'm going to take these pork chops out. I made sure that I used my meat thermometer to check to make sure that they were cooked all the way. But I think that they've turned out just fabulous. So now I'm going to set these down. Of course, it doesn't hurt anything to let the meat rest for a little bit. Now we're going to add a few things to this pan that's just spitting away. We need a couple tablespoons. I'm using grainy mustard because it's what I like for this recipe. And so 2 tablespoons of that. And then I need 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, provided I can get the maple syrup. And this is a good Canadian maple syrup. I'm not sure what part of Canada it comes from, but I'm going to say that it comes from the east, because I'm not sure there are any maple syrup suppliers out here in the western part of Canada. Now I'm adding a half a cup of heavy cream to this. And you can see how dark this is getting, and that's because I left all the fond from the meat in the pan. And now we're just going to scrape up the little bits. And this comes together super quick. Once we've got everything well mixed together and you can see some little bubbles appearing, this is ready to go. Look at that. Now, you can allow this to cook down some to take some of the moisture out if you like, but I'm not going to do that. Remember also that I've doubled this recipe, so I'll put the recipe in the description box below, but I will put the correct amounts for 2 people. So 2 pork chops, half a pound of Brussels sprouts, and then the glaze, which is 1 tablespoon each of grainy mustard and maple syrup. I'm just waiting for it to come to a bit of a bubble. I've maybe turned the pan down too much here. It was getting awfully spitty at me, so, oh yeah, I can see the little bubbles now. So I'm going to shut that off, and I'll bring you back over here to the counter with me. I'm sweaty. All this hot food going on. So I'm just going to make up a plate, as we would, and we tend to eat in the living room in front of the TV with our TV trays, and not that we don't have a perfectly wonderful dining room table, but we only ever use it if we have company come by. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same position. So I'm just going to add a scoop of potatoes to this plate and one of these humongous pork chops. Let me put it this way. And then we're going to add some Brussels sprouts. And I'm going to use the same spoon and just scoop up some Brussels sprouts that are hot out of the oven. And then I'm going to grab that frying pan, and I'm going to give this a stir, swish around, and it's going to go on the pork chop and on the potato. And there we go. That's what's for dinner at our house tonight. We have a maple syrup and mustard glazed pork chop with mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts. And I hope that you'll give this a try, because it's a really delicious dish, and it's just a different way to serve a traditional dinner, is adding that glaze to it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, folks. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing that. It really helps me out. Also, give it a like, and of course, share your comments with me. I always love to hear from you, and I try to answer everyone. And I appreciate so much that you come along with me and sit across my counter, and I hope you're sipping coffee or your favorite cold drink, and that we can visit again next week. So take care, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye.